I'm Dr. Willow Brown, your Taoist expert here at Sex Reimagined.
And I am Leah Piper, your Tantra expert.
What up, yo? We had an epic interview today with Sacha Fossa, who is a sex and intimacy, relationship and wellness coach, educator, and healing arts practitioner. Her specialties and certifications in intimate and erotic arts include Tantra and the Erotic Blueprints. She offers custom designed programs to get you your best sex and love life, physically, spiritually, partnered or not, through her business, Sacred Temple Arts. I think it's pretty cool that she does specifically tailored to you programs. I mean, I think she has some sort of like general things that she'll bring into sort of all of her work with her clients to kind of figure out what is their erotic blueprint, what is their languaging around sexuality, how, if they're coupled, how are they hitting the nail on the head with conversation? How are they missing it? But then she'll bring in all these other pieces as well to really give you the full Monty.
And I think, taking people and helping them understand is this whole idea of having an erotic IQ and how can you bring more intelligence? How can you bring more adventure? How can you bring more curiosity? How can you see the blocks that are stopping you from the greatest sexual love in your life and beginning to overcome those obstacles that we all have. And boy, has this girl overcome some obstacles, okay? Because one of the things we have a lot of fun with is just pouring over like, man, life can throw us so much stuff. And what we do with that stuff really does matter. And we can transform it and transmute it and take the pain that we're born into and heal it up. Have a different kind of life.
Turn it into a pearl. So tune in, turn on, and fall in love
with our Sacha.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Sacha is in the house. Girlfriend, how long has it been? I can't even remember the last time we saw each other. I mean, it's got to be like over
Level
7 years.
3 source Tantra. Probably it was back in Santa Cruz in the Redwood Mountains.
Wow. Yeah.
Sacha, where are you now?
Time. Willow and Sacha, these are the first time you guys are meeting each other, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you now? Where are you living and working?
I am living north of Boston on the North Shore, and I am currently living in Newburyport, which is up in the corner, just south of New Hampshire. And yeah, it's a really quaint, quite interesting place to live to do this work.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's it like doing this work in that neck of the woods?
Yeah, it's been very hard in the last 10 years or longer, and especially being just in puritanical area. Let's face it, Salem is really close, right?
Right.
So it has been hard. It's funny, I've found most of my clients travel to me.
Okay.
It's not as much local. And I also think that that's when you see clients in person and your business is like your best sex and love life. A lot of people just don't want to act like they have any issue in any department.
I think that's one of the biggest things that we all struggle with is just, even Leah and I just did this summit on shame. And it's like, how many people don't even want to admit that they're carrying shame around their sexuality,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or don't understand that the icky feeling they have is actually shame.
It's actually shame, yeah. It's hard to even name it. It's hard to put your finger on it. And, a lot of people who think they're having good sex. I'm having good sex. I've been married for 10 years. I'm having good sex. It's like, what we know to be good sex is, that is mediocre compared to what we know is possible. So you don't even know what you're missing because you don't know what it is. You don't know about it. So I'm curious, do you do a lot of educating in that area? Like, did you classes?
Actually, I don't really do public classes any longer. I was trying that for a long time, but it doesn't suit me either in terms of who I am as a person and how I like to work. My favorite way to work is to get in with an individual or a couple into in-depth program, in person and virtual, and really dive in. And
Nice.
I create from the bottom up of what they need in terms of the program, pulling from all of the different fields that I'm especially educated in. And yeah, it's just, that's my joy. So I used to do a lot of classes like for moms, for the chamber locally, things like that, just teaching in my, in my homes and so forth. But yeah, one-on-one more with people. It's really, where my pleasure lies.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that, what that looks like. I mean, first of all, for our audience, she's studied with Source Tantra all the way up to level 3 or maybe beyond. She's done the Erotic Blueprints. You've done other Tantra trainings
Worked with
as
Sherry
well.
Winston.
You've worked with Sherry. Awesome. So Anatomy of Arousal, got that dialed in. So let's say a couple comes to you and they are like, hey, we've been married for 10 years and, we know that our sexuality is a problem. Where do you begin with them?
Well, they fill out a questionnaire before they come in that's pretty in-depth to understand their entire life picture of what's going on for them, because I really speak and work to the holistic side of everything, as I know you do. So it's really going into past history, anything that's happened in the body, anything that's going on in the bodies. It's a deep dive into getting all of the information, and then I'll create a program that's specifically designed module by module. If it's just virtual, my virtual sessions are generally 2 hours. And once a month for a lot of people is enough, because I give so much attention in between the sessions, and it's so custom designed that you can text me and I'm emailing, and you have a whole home play program that I've designed in between. So it's a real VIP experience. Then the in-person sessions are never less than 3 hours. And so again, people usually, couples or individuals, come once a month. And yeah, it would just be finding out what are your challenges? Is it usually it's lack of education, because no one's had a decent sex education unless you've gone on a journey like the three of us have and consumed our lives.
Got real
with
curious.
This study, right?
Insatiable.
For 20 years. So now we can hack it for them.
Yeah. So what are some of the specific obstacles that people are struggling with? What's the pain they're trying to overcome when they reach out to you? You get we want to know, we want the down and dirty details, not the generalities.
Yeah. It's always different. And that's what I love about this work. When I first started out, I got more women that were having issues with having orgasms, and just a lot of trauma and pleasure issues in general in their lives, really starving to understand their sexuality and have any awakening there, because it had all just been trauma and everything shut down.
What kind of trauma?
Rape, assault, molestation, the deepest, the darkest stuff. And just in general, I mean, none of us are not traumatized in some way in this culture, sexually and relationship wise. And I believe it's designed that way, which is why we need to get a different education outside of the programming that we've received that has done such a disservice. And that's what brought me to this whole path in the first place, was healing myself.
That's a really strong statement. I believe it was designed that way. That really piques my interest. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on that. Yeah.
Well, my thoughts are pretty strong, and you don't have to have the same thoughts as me to work with me, but I will be very raw and real in terms of what my sense is. And this is not just my opinion, it's from the ancient cultures as well that we know. Sexuality and our sexual energy and life force is the fountain of youth, and it's our greatest power, in terms of enlightenment and health and well-being and just aliveness, right? And so if you control that and you create this entire paradigm of lacking in it, actually giving the wrong education. I believe we get the wrong education, right? Around sexuality and relationships. Then basically you make good slaves and very good consumers, and not happy, healthy, enlightened, and empowered people. And I really think that's the problem on the planet right now.
So tell us a little bit about your journey and how your journey sort of informs like if you don't mind, you don't have to say, if you don't want to be personal, you don't have to, but I'm really kind of curious what, because I think what people really connect to is hearing other people's stories. And I think so much of the time we have educators that sit up from the front of the room and depersonalize it, and I think the most successful breakthroughs people have is going, oh, they're just like me. And so I'm curious if you can say a little bit about like your struggle and when you first started to look into conscious sexuality, what was it that you were wrestling with, and kind of like who were you before and now who are you now? Like the Sacha that started, but then there's the Sacha of today.
Yeah. Well, we could spend a year talking about this. To sum it up.
Yeah. Like what was the biggest transformation? Like, do you remember the inflection point of going, fuck, I was wrestling with this and now I'm liberated from it?
That's like every month. A new jump like that. I'm just kind of a quantum leaper of things. But if we go back, I believe I came into this world with joy and orgasmic energy as my natural sense of well-being. And I think that most of us do, if we can remember those times when we did jump out of bed as a child and were excited for life. Mm-hmm. And I just had that squashed out of me to such an extreme. But just the regular societal stuff in schooling that I never fit into traditional schooling and education programs and so forth. But I have a very deep mother wound ongoing. My family is mental illness. It is a shit show. I don't talk to anybody really. And I have had to go it my own in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And so that was, my father was amazing, but he died when I was 20. And so essentially, my parents were in love and had a good sex life, but they fought horrifically. And it was always my mother really starting it. And after doing Alison Armstrong's work,
nice. Yeah.
My mother was just strong feminist attorney that really was like wanted to wear the pants and control everything. And my father went along with that, but much to his detriment. And when she finally was just like, I want to get divorced, and created the longest, most miserable divorce I've ever seen in my life, and personally had to live through as an adolescent. At the end of the day, she took all the money and left, and he said, I'm going to, make it all back and be okay. And he wasn't. He died in his sleep at 54. His heart closed up. He was on a business trip. And to me, he died of heartache because he didn't want the family to be broken. Even down to the last years of the divorce, he was still trying to, couldn't we just fix things? And so all of that. And then after 10 years after my father's death, my mother suddenly says, I made a huge mistake. Your father was the best man I've ever met on this planet. And she's never regrouped or recoupled. Right. So if they had like Allison's work or a sex coach
or your work.
Yes. If someone had helped.
Isn't that ironic? Right.
Oh my God. So many times I'm like, God, I wish I had me as a teenager, I wish I had somebody like me guiding me along. So it's so
absolutely.
Thank you so much for just sharing that. I know those things aren't easy to say publicly. And yet I know there's so many people listening right now that completely relate to that story and have lived with like the pain of seeing the people that they love kind of destroy each other, or having one just sort of totally suppress the power and the glow and that aliveness in their partner. And it's just sort of this really painful thing. And then that ends up suppressing their kids. And so,
it ends up really affecting them physiologically as well.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. All those emotions get lodged in the tissues. Yeah. And then it ends up.
And it's painful to be the person doing that to the people that they love. It's painful to be the person receiving it. And then it's painful to be the person watching the destruction happen around you. And I I think like the thing that comes out as a blessing from these really painful life experiences that we have with our loved ones is the work that we find ourselves in our effort to want to heal those crevices and those cracks that occur, in our lives. That ends up helping us heal other people that went through the same thing. So yeah, you're doing it.
And the tools, right?
Right, like if we knew our attachment styles.
And if we understood love languages and erotic blueprints. These are basics, right, that the three of us know are amazing in terms of how they can change any relationship and really create a whole new ability to connect with others. If these were taught in middle school, right, if we knew these when we were so much younger, how different it would be, how different these experiences would be in terms of our understanding of our own selves and all of our relationships to others, right?
And if our sexuality wasn't shamed as a child, like what you were talking about, that exuberant orgasmic, like, oh my God, it's the day, it's the morning, it's life. You know, if that was more, and little kids are always curious about their genitals. Why wouldn't they be? Like it feels good down there. And just really allow, as a parent, to really to not try to push it under the rug or close it down or shut it down in any way, but just to say, it's part of being in a body. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I was slut shamed heavy by my mother.
Oh, really?
And that just, the moment that started happening, I just went, well, then who cares? Fine, right? Type of thing. I was day raped the first time I had sex, and I'm mentioning that too because when parents don't deal with their own trauma, they really do. I was told ever since I was a kid, like it couldn't go out at night. I couldn't do normal things that kids did because I was going to get raped. It was like an early on type projection from someone else's history and there it was, right? I was barely even menstruating age, and that was my first experience. And I hid it and didn't tell anybody because I felt like my father would kill the person and go to jail. And the person was very popular in the community and was older and all of that. So it wasn't until I got to college that I started to talk about it, and I realized that when you say one out of every three women has had serious
some kind of sexual harm.
Yeah, right. Then it was like, whoa, I'm really not alone here, and that made a huge change into understanding and going to get more help. And
so you started on your healing path in your 20s, then it sounds like, in college.
I would even say during my parents' divorce, I sought out counseling on a regular basis. I started to do a lot of reading of self-development things. I was always kind of like a hippie kid, I was always I was taking acid and going out on the beach and praying and hanging out with God and just about, it really
we can't relate to that at all.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's like what a lot of baby boomers are doing now. They're like, oh my God, this mushroom journey thing, in their 50s, 60s, 70s.
Right, right.
Like, wow, my eyes are being opened. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I have
all
question.
These experiences. Yeah.
Okay, so I know, I can look back on my life and go, okay, yes, as I, the conditioning that affected who I attracted into my life, right? Especially in sex and having sort of a complicated parents and complicated upbringing, like we all do. I mean, even people who have super normal, what we would think is normal, they're just as fucked up as the rest of us. And so we all kind of have to sort of figure out and recover. I've got friends who had the best dads on the planet. Everyone who has a dysfunctional dad wish they had their dad. And now it's like no one measures up to the best dad in the world. And so they still have problems in their relationships having the best father. So it's almost like none of us really get a chance. But yet, I think that's all a setup too.
Yeah.
Because everything is working for us, not against us, is my personal opinion. And even some of the most painful tragedies. And so as you've been walking the path of love, how has it unfolded for you, your own healing process, even your own wounded process in reflection to the type of people who you attract to love with, be that be them whoever they are, men, women. What's been your sort of experience and evolution in terms of who you attract into your world to play with?
Well, it's been one of the greatest healings for me to, again, walk this path to expand my own erotic IQ and relationship awareness. Because coming from the situation that I did with my mother, I attracted two longer and another one that was shorter, but even more psychopathic abusive relationships.
Oh, really?
With covert narcissists and really somebody who was a psychopath. So there was walking the path of love I was always like, everyone should be forgiven. Everyone's a soul. They're all light. I'm just here to shine my light on everyone and just make love with the world. And by the time I was done with the final one of those relationships and I'd lost everything financially in my home and all self-respect and everything, I wasn't so much on the love path anymore. I was kind of doing like a lot of dark goddess releasing from all the lifetimes of this fucking shit.
Wow. Yeah, of course.
But it also brought me to realize to learn boundaries, to do deeper healing work than I had done before, and to really go on the path of consciousness instead of this aspect of love everybody,
Okay.
Wow, that's a really important distinction. Yeah.
There is evil on this planet. I don't sugarcoat that. I've seen it and I have experienced the depth of things that yes, I do believe there's a higher path. There's all of this greater stuff that's awakened. But I always lived with like just focusing on the Pollyanna, like glass over. And I was perfect prey. Perfect prey. So many situations that I got myself into because I was so not in the real of there's danger.
Right. Like denial?
Well, I think I was so bred into it.
Okay.
Right? The abuse and everything was in my nervous system, right?
Yeah.
So it felt familiar. It felt like home. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
It was so conditioned.
Besides the obvious psychopath, the other ones, because they were covert, the gaslighting. I would just always think everything's my
fault.
And because I'm so like law of attraction, everything, right?
Like, what am I doing to attract all of this?
I must be a psychopath.
That piece that you were, which was allowing it to be walked all over.
Boundaries, right? No boundaries, no awareness of self.
That's huge.
Like the desire to have peace, especially if you have an anxious attachment style, and it's like you just want everything to feel okay, that the easiest path to getting everything to feel okay is go, everything's my fault. I'll take responsibility. I'll be the one who's sorry. I'll be the one to make it better, because it's like the body cannot even tolerate the upset. So we take too much responsibility for the disruption because we're so dysregulated with each other. It's so hard to hold other people accountable to going, you know what, this isn't all my fault. Like, how about some self-reflection over here and some partnership in changing the dysfunction, which is nearly impossible when you're working with people with that kind of mental diagnosis. So how did you get out of those relationships?
What was the turning point for you?
A restraining order, lots of fun times, right? And that was one, but I've also, on the flip side, I guess you could say, I've gone to the extremes in life on all sides. From being like really, kind of just out there sexually, to celibacy, to, taking tantra workshops that were like orgies, to going and being with the Dalai Lama for 11 days and doing esoteric schools. Like, I've been all over the place of
lots of range,
what's that, right? Lots of waves. So as much as I have had those terrible, excruciating relationships that formed so much of my awareness of expanding my erotic and relationship IQ and consciousness, I also have had wonderful tantric lovers. I've had amazing relationships. I had a relationship with a couple that was like so deep and beautiful and amazing. I mean, I have had also ecstasy, right? I've had the days of orgasm and bliss that a person wishes that they could only imagine. The kind of lovemaking.
It's almost like your soul came in and was like, "Show me the top of the mountain,
show me
and
all
show
of
me
it.
the bottom of the
Yes.
sea,
Yes.
because I want to know
We're gonna do it all. We're gonna do it all. We're gonna do it fast, and then we're gonna hack it for people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, that's a lot for that spirit of yours, that sparkly spirit, right? It seems like you've been able to hold on, even if it was suppressed as this little kid and going through some of this heaven and hell, you can still see the sparkle in your eye. And so how have you protected that light of yours?
Or reclaimed it, as the case may be.
I have a cat.
You have a cat. Cat medicine. Kitty medicine.
I always have a feline close by.
Yes.
But it is true.
That.
I didn't have children because it seemed that would be, I was still doing my own healing journey. I didn't meet somebody I wanted to have children with, a lot of different reasons, but I have raised cat families and I have one kitty right now. And I mean, just petting my cat, I'm like getting bliss. You know, I'm just calmed down. Everything is peaceful. She just, you know, the unconditional love of not just animals, but the plants. I'm deeply connected to the earth and the plants. You know, part of all of my work, this healing work, and what I offer is healing arts, right? So I use flower essences, essential oils, energy work, 30 different modalities of energy and body work, right? Supplements, all these other pieces get tied into my programs and what I offer clients because I've been doing this for myself, right? And so I use my practices, I use my tools, I meditate, I connect with the earth, I do all the things that I have orgasms. My favorite healing modality right now, which Leah knows, I wrote my dissertation at Goddard 10 years ago on sacred spot massage.
That's right.
So I was like obsessed with, we'll call it the female prostate, in honor of Deborah Sundall's work, who I also studied with. And I believe that area is a fully functioning prostate in the female body. So did all of that dissertation work and the study for years and years on the prostate massage for men and women, but especially in focus on women. And now I'm just like cervical orgasm.
Yes, the new frontier.
We love cervical orgasms.
We love cervical orgasms.
The new.
Holy, talk about going to the top of the mountain. My God.
Yes.
Yeah, so spiritual.
I want to highlight what you just said because I think that is actually what I tell people when they're looking for a practitioner, an expert, a teacher, a guide, a mentor, a coach, whatnot. That's my first piece of advice is find somebody who's done the work. Find someone who has the embodied knowledge. Find somebody who's walked themselves to where you want to be. And then ask them to walk with you because they've got the direct experience. They're committed. They're living it. And most importantly, they have embodied knowledge, which is so much more credible, in my opinion, than any degree anyone can get if it's just head-based. If it's just intellectual, they're missing the boat because especially in the world of Tantra, but I think this goes for any sexuality, any sexual expertise, to me is only valid if people have embodied experience
knowledge.
of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm there 100% with you. Everything I do is, somatically based, body based, and I didn't become a therapist. I started out studying psychology and thinking I was going to be a therapist, but I need to touch bodies if you want to be touched with consent, of course, right?
Yeah.
I have a gift around that, and that's part of what I do. So it's part of the work that brings the healing arts and the actual touch work and the tantra into it as well. Because it's how I healed myself. I had done 30 years of therapy, but I could twist my therapist around my finger, any one of them, so easily, just to, and feel better, but like it
Yeah.
wasn't changing.
Right. You can out therapist the therapist.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, even at like 13, it felt like I was
Right.
like, these people.
Oh my God, I love that. I've had therapists come and get on my table and they're like, God, I really wish I could touch people, you know, like I really wish I could
Right.
put my hands on people because they see the difference and feel the difference. So valuable.
Yeah.
So Sasha, it sounds like your addiction has been the healing path, right? You could have totally gone the other direction. You could have gone toward alcohol or drugs.
I've done it all.
You've gone in that direction. Yeah, I was going to ask
all of it.
about that because I think that
Everything.
I think that's really valuable for those who are down that path and who are like, I don't want to be on this path, but I don't know how to get off of it. So, working with you, somebody who has gotten themselves off of that particular path and gotten back on the healing, back on the spiritual, back on this self-love path, I think that's probably one of the hardest things that people shift gears on.
Well, isn't it interesting too? Because like if we just talk about addiction, I think a lot of people who also stumble into this path knowing that there's something deep that needs healing, awareness, healing, immersion. It's tricky in the sexual realm because it changes states, right? Like I know someone who's had food addiction like I have. I mean, I've dabbled in all of it from drug addiction to alcohol addiction to food addiction to sex addiction.
Yeah,
I don't know
too,
that
all
I
of
would
it.
be necessarily diagnosed, but I have lived on the edge of it because the pain is so deep. You are always reaching for a state change. And it feels like it only comes with maturity that you start to realize, well, the best state change there is sleep, exercise, drinking of water, like all this healthy ass stuff. But it's not as instantaneous, as for me, like reaching for food or reaching for a joint or reaching for an orgasm. Kind of comes back to the saying that the path of Tantra is riddled with the bodies of saints and sages because it's so easy to sort of fall into the shadow side of what's available there. And I don't know where I'm going with that other than just to like acknowledge that one has to hold. It's like not an either or. It's always an and. It's like we're holding the light and we're holding the shadow.
Yeah.
We don't know what one is without the other. And I think that's one of the valuable things about that your journey really speaks to, Sasha, is, this wide range, this all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom, and finding equanimity through it all, finding a sense of inner peace on that journey, on that erratic, roller coaster of a journey. And I think that's what everyone really craves, right? We all just want to be at peace inside, but we don't live in a peaceful environment. We are swimming in chaos and distraction, and we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for something to make us feel content
or
and peace.
obsessing with ourselves of going, oh, my pain, oh, my stuff. And wouldn't you guys agree that like it's really in the service of others that helps take us out of like the self-consumption of how like our pain can kind of just like latch on and cause us to go like to be so self-obsessed because we can't get out of our own mind. There's something about the lifeline of serving others that is so there's an anecdote there. There's peace there. There's selflessness there. There's purpose there. There's meaning there to feel like when other people matter, there's an energetic circuit that we get plugged into that helps us see that our purpose is being fulfilled, that we matter too, and all of the beauty that can sort of occur. And I'm wondering how that might fit, or if it doesn't fit when it comes to this whole intimacy and erotic IQ. That you've mentioned that a couple of times, and I'd love to kind of deep dive into that.
Give us a definition. What is erotic IQ?
Well, I would say it's just your own sense of eroticism, right? I don't like to label things that's not true for a certain person, right? So an erotic IQ of someone that, let's say, has more energetic sensual blueprints is going to be different than a high kinky person's erotic IQ. It's based on what their eroticism is, right? Essentially. But then all my clients, my work is to actually help you understand all of that, but then to expand into the blueprints as well, right? If they want to go on that journey, because I think that being a shapeshifter, which is, anyone can find out more about the blueprint stuff on my website and so forth and from Jaya's stuff. But the shapeshifter plays in all the playgrounds, right?
Right.
I think
right.
we really want to play in all the playgrounds and to understand all these different ways to connect with our bodies, ourselves, and whatever we consider greater. And that, it personally happens, and then it also happens in the collective. And so I absolutely, my greatest joy is working with my clients in so many ways and seeing the amazing expansion and the healing that's happening.
Oh, tell us a miracle story. Like, what's a story of someone who you introduced the blueprints to, and they're like, all the doors started open? Like, do you have a story? A miracle story of someone?
There's a lot with the blueprints. I will tell you my story with the blueprints because I feel like that was so significant in my own experience. Clients awaken all the time in different ways with the blueprints, but my personal one was that I always felt like there was something wrong with me. I was too much, and I had been told I was too much, insatiable, all these things from past partners that were not the particular blueprint that I am.
What is your blueprint?
I'm a shapeshifter. I'm a high energetic shapeshifter, but I'm a real shapeshifter. I like all of it and more, right?
Cool.
And that is the shapeshifter is like the erotic connoisseur, right?
Yes, I'm working on it. I want to be a shapeshifter.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, once you actually own it,
You are,
as, like,
Leah.
I'm not, it's not a curse. Like, I'm not wrong. I'm not bad. For always wanting more. I always want to create more on this planet. I always am in creation mode. I'm always in, like, if I'm like stuck and contracted, I'm like, get me the fuck off the planet. I don't even want to be here. I get so like, no, I have to keep creating. I have to be going, moving. But it's not out of an addiction thing anymore. It's out of the natural energy flow that is like create or die. Like, but I feel like that goes back to the eroticism too. I say to my clients, when you have if you have clients and one of them is like, shop's closed, no more sex, right? And the other one is flipping out and trying to find some, or just sick and unhappy.
Yeah,
right.
I need
starving,
nutrition.
right?
Yeah.
Starving, yeah. It's like, well, you've got one foot towards the coffin. If you are shutting down all of your sexual energy, and it doesn't mean you have to be having sex. Like all of the greatest saints and so forth and the celibate beings, they were still running the sexual energy in their body. They're making love to spirit and to God and to the earth instead of other bodies, usually, right?
Right.
That's why they lived longer. They were still,
Right. They're plugged in. They don't unplug just because they're not being sexual.
Right.
They still allow themselves to feel the aliveness that comes from our essence, which is sexual energy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so once I got really plugged into my essence, not being wrong.
Yeah. Fuck,
everything was like, woo, it was a miracle. That was the greatest part of like Jaya's work that I've continued to enjoy teaching and sharing. But I tend to, I get bored if I'm just going to teach her stuff. So like I can do that if a client wants to hire me for that. But generally my clients hire me for my custom design work.
Sure.
And then I include with that, they get Jaya's program. So go over here, do all Jaya's stuff, and I'll lead you to what you want to do over there.
Right.
But when we're working together, we're not going to be going through, a very
it's not a rigid curriculum. Of the blueprints. That's just part of the IQ. It's part of the learning. It's part of increasing your own journey of sexual intelligence. That those are like tools that can help explain and give meaning. I have to say, I just had the most visceral reaction hearing you talk about the process of which going, I am not going to punish myself for being limitless, for having limitless appetites, for feeling limitless in my desire, for having a limitless menus that I enjoy. Like, bravo. Because I think so many people feel so shut down and feel so like boxed in and feel like there's something wrong with them. Like there's so much shame that is in the nervous system of that.
Or that they are like, yeah, that I've had enough, like I'm good. I had it. I'm satiated, that they're not insatiable. One or it could go either way.
Mm-hmm. I'm never enough. I'm never enough for the person who's hungry.
So was there an actual experience, or was it like a point when you were studying Jaya's work, the blueprint stuff, or what happened for you that you were liberated to really be in your full true essence?
Well, studying it, and also I was alone during lockdown and experiences of the pandemic stuff, and I had to really learn how to feed myself on a new level.
No, yeah.
So, as a shapeshifter, I had to learn all kinds of like, okay, how do I get kinky with myself? How do How do I expand on my own body in every blueprint? Because I can sit here and I can complain that, I'm starving and
I
hungry.
don't have anyone to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff, right? I think it's really easy to get into that. And I think there's been a lot of reasons why for myself personally that I've had to do so much work on my own. And, I do hope I'll have a partner and that changes. And I actually have an energy now of like, what would it be like to be married? I'd like to be married and monogamous and have a completely, I need something new and different. Swinging to another side of the pendulum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I do.
I think also at a certain point in life, like as we grow older and as we have experienced so much, it's like, okay, there's something inside that's like, I just want to dig a deep well with one person,
I want to learn to be an amazing partner. Now that I've spent 20 years focused on my own self-healing and helped all these clients in the path of also doing so, I want to really put myself in a place of being an incredible partner. Yeah. And, I love you that, of course, you've had all the great songs so far that I love, but Om Ropani is really, I haven't taken any direct courses with him yet, but I love what he's putting out there right now. About how to really show up and be a real partner.
I think, and that makes so much sense, right? Because look at how far you've come from just the conditioned experience of growing up with the parents that you had, right? And like, there's so much inner work that had to be healed in that. And I think for a lot of us, we're afraid of fucking that up when we have felt like we came from a challenging model that's in our nervous system, and then unwinding that out of our nervous system, and then wanting to go, I want to take all these skills and I want to try it all. And being a shapeshifter, I bet that's even more interesting in a lot of ways, because if you've been to this territory and you've gone to that territory and you visited this planet and you went to that planet and you went over to that coast and, you kind of traveled all these realms, naturally you'd want to travel to that realm too.
Yeah. It feels like I've done, a lot of cult jumping over the years.
Cult jumping. I'm so going to use that. That's brilliant.
Right? It's amazing to just like being the perfect prey that I was for those men and the certain experiences I had. I was perfect for every MLM and cult that came around spiritually and otherwise and sexually. And so that history is there too, right? So it's like, there's, I just feel like there's an essence for me of bringing people. I make my clients laugh. I get them back into their bodies and into joy again.
Joy.
It's like, it's about learning all of this awesome sex stuff, but really you can have all the fucking techniques and like, you're still just empty inside. You have to get into like your true erotic self and what is that for you? What does that look like for you? Bring it out.
I want to tell our audience we are now accepting applications. For those of you who would like to date Sacha to absolutely sweep her off her feet, please email support@SexReimagine and we will funnel your applications to Sacha.
Thank you so much. I have been very tired of the dating apps. I would love to have it just be more organic.
Yes, great. You got it, girl.
Yeah.
We got you. I think what's interesting, like seeing, because I don't know that a lot of people know about the blueprints. They might take the quiz, and they get the results. And I always recommend that people do get the one where they get the percentages so that they can see what the percentages are.
And go to my website and go on there and take it.
And what's your website?
Sacred Temple artsplural.com. So basically my business is Sacred Temple Arts because it's the sacred temple of the body, and we're including, you know, the sex and intimacy, relationship coaching and education, and the healing arts and the blueprints and tantra. So all of these categories of everything I teach and all the programs are underneath essentially the Sacred Temple Arts.
Well, and don't you kind of see that, like, you know, where people limit themselves regarding that map is they look at their primary and their secondary and they go, okay, well, that makes sense. That's who I am. And then they don't kind of go beyond that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's like the first stopping point is trying to understand, well, what are those
your primary,
impulses? And this is why I haven't been met before, because people didn't speak my bedroom language of these two, you know, primaries.
Right.
But I think the depth of the potential of what that work is supposed to really has waiting for you is to actually go beyond those higher percentages.
To check out the other ones and play with your sexual or your king.
And understand your shadows, right? And to understand other people and to realize these blueprints bleed out into everything that you do. Or they, you know, they just like ooze out into everything's colored. When I realized that, like, you know, even just in business, right? You're supposed to choose one thing and have an ideal client, or you're wrong. Niche it down. As a shapeshifter, I'm like, I could never do it. Now
I must be a shapeshifter too, because that seems to be the case over here.
Yeah. I want to retake the test and actually see how my percentages.
I know you must be a shapeshifter. I think we are.
I want to see what they are.
Yeah,
I would think so. The more that you know, just the way you're expanding, all the information gathering, but also I heard Leah recently say she's trying new things. She's exploring, right? Again, in a new level. So I have been doing Jaya's stuff for like 7 years now. And I am still, and I've been doing like, became a coach, right? Teaching it, so forth. I'm still going deeper and deeper and deeper into understanding, embodying, and playing with these blueprints. It is a brilliant pathway to more consciousness and expansion, or just pleasure and fun and everything in between. Right?
Okay, so we've heard you talk about Sacred Spot. We've heard you talk about the blueprints. Are there any other modalities that are sort of the cornerstone of your work that you love to bring to the table? Yeah,
Tantra, and then the healing arts. I do access consciousness, bars and body processes, and a lot of stuff with them. I do something called Unlimited Body, another energy body work program, to help just get out trauma, right?
Okay.
I've been a flower essence practitioner for 25 years. I've been doing essential oils professionally that long as well. So all of these other experiences.
For people who don't know what like Bach flowers are and sort of working with flower essences, can you say a little bit about that to people maybe who've never heard of it, and why you think it's effective and how it's been effective for you?
The flower essences are far more esoteric in that they are the spirit of the plant, essentially, that you are gathering through sunlight and through prayer and connection with the spirit of the plant. And it tends to work, therefore, not like an herbal tincture where you take the herbs and you're drinking a concoction that is the straight up plant. Instead, you are getting the essence, the vibration, the frequency of the plant. And it affects every energy body, and it can go right down into the physical as well. It does, and it works. They're amazing. And so I create combination, specific custom designed essences for people based on what's going on for them. I have a set specifically for the second chakra and for STIs and pelvic issues and challenges sexually. I don't work with Bach. I work specifically with I studied with David. I studied with many different practitioners, but I studied with David Dalton, who's in New Hampshire. He's amazing. His essences come from him to my hands. They don't sit in a store someplace. They don't pick up other vibrations. it's like amazing frequencies. And so I just use his essences mostly. And I continue, I'm shapeshifter, lifelong learner. I just took another class with him last night. 25 years I've been studying flower essences, and I'm still going
That's
deeper.
awesome. I want to come and get a flower essence made for me.
I was going to say, that's right up.
Like, I know you're offering us all a free gift, which is a consult with you, which is amazing. Yes. And then inside of that consult, if I was like, look, I'm pretty good in my sexuality, my relationship, my this and that, but I want to try some of your flower essences.
Yeah.
You can hook me up.
I like doing them in person, but of course I can make an essence with a virtual consult and then put it in the mail to you.
Okay,
but
neat.
So yeah, either way. But
who's good for that medicine and who's not good for that medicine? Because I imagine some people take to it really, really well, and other people block it.
I don't think you can block the effects of it because it's so powerful in the way that it works in the body, but you might ignore the side effects or something. But I offer so many. I don't offer clients that would not resonate at all with something like that. That is one of the paths, right? I might go essential oils first too instead because you can, right? It's like you got to titrate, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, if somebody comes to you and they're like, I eat McDonald's twice a week, you don't want to be like, let's do a 21 day cleanse for you, right? You got to meet your person where they're at.
Unless they're really
doing 1 day of McDonald's a week.
Exactly.
I love it. Sasha, it's been so much fun. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Tell us about what, if somebody comes to your consult, your free consult, just a chat, a wrap, a get to know you on a more personal level.
The generous 45 minutes, is that right?
Yeah. How does that, like, what do you offer them? What are they going to walk away with?
Yeah. Well, I'm essentially offering it as a path to, first I want people to go look at my website. And see all the potential there.
Okay.
Yes.
First stop website.
And you can sign up there as well. That's where you sign up basically for my consultation. And then, come with me, bring to me what's going on for you, and then I'll design a program. What's your, I also one of those coaches who's not like, I only do high-end programs. I have high-end programs. I have programs that meet clients where they are with their financial budgets and needs.
Nice.
That might be a payment monthly. It might be, right? Again, it's a shapeshifter thing, but also just because I really love the, if I get like a 30-year-old, right, who's still living at mom's house, which just means they have a little more money to spend usually, but
that's a good point. But what you're saying is that like healing and getting support is not an exclusive thing for people who have a ton of money. It should be made affordable for everyone.
Exactly. So that is part of my goal. So if you give me your investment budget and what you specifically have challenges of, then after our call or during the call, I will give you a framework of a program that then you can choose whether to sign up with me or not. I do not market where I don't take credit cards over the phone and demand that you sign up right then at that call. I won't do that to you. I'll tell you that I will give you the information, and then you can take your time to decide about the program or not and get back to me. I know that's completely the opposite of every business training I've ever had, but it feels better to my authentic self, which is the only thing I go by these days.
Good for you, yeah.
I love it. That's integrity right there.
Yeah, because the best clients, the most coachable clients are the people that are committed and they want the change and they want the transformation and they're hungry to liberate themselves or to purify a part of themselves that feels.
And there is something too about the exchange, the investment. When you're paying for something, you're going to follow through with it. If you're getting something for free or for not that much, it's easy to be like, oh, it wasn't that much anyway. I'm not going to do the work that I said I was going to do. So there's a real value on both sides too,
So you got no reason not to call up Sasha, frankly, because there's no risk there. See if there's a resonance, see if the two of you are a good fit, and then sky's the limit, as we know.
Yeah. Sasha, it's been so much fun meeting you. I hope I get to meet you in person one of these days.
Same. I hope to see you on the East Coast, Leo, when you're back around here too.
Yeah, hug your kitties for me. Meow, meow.
I will.
All right, that's a wrap. Love, love, love.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
Light. Let there be light.
It was lovely. I really
Sacha
enjoyed
Fossa.
her.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool girl, and very amazing journey that she's been on. And I can see how much she has to offer to her clients and how much she really enjoys doing that deeper dive with people more personally. I think that's really amazing and valuable.
Yeah, she's like just one of
I
those
can relate to that.
lifelong. Yeah, totally. Lifelong seeker, lifelong learner.
Yeah.
I love that she's a shapeshifter and she has this abundance of abundance, really. When she was talking about the whole shape-shifting, the spirit of the shapeshifter, and what this aspect of judgment that people often feel regarding the shape-shifting blueprint type is this sort of almost like an insatiability or being too much, or they can have it all and they can have it all right now.
Yeah.
And then there is actually a whole nother way of looking at that and celebrating that. And that was really for me the essence of the interview, was being in celebration of her unplugging from the judgment of what that means, and just how much that could permeate one's whole life. All the different sectors that could blend into. And
Absolutely.
And to watch her, and I know not everyone will get a chance to actually watch that part of the interview visually, but hopefully you can hear energetically that, when the beginning of the interview, when she kind of opened up with having part of that light sort of smothered, that.
Yeah.
Because I can just see her as a little girl, that
Oh, yeah.
infectious, bright. I mean, if you listen to her laugh, she's got this kind of giggle. There's a twinkle about her, and she reminds me of someone I would have pal around with in high school. Just this really kind of positive, effervescent spirit.
Yeah.
And how there have been different times in her life when that's been really smothered, and but yet it hasn't. Her light is too bright. It will prevail through the ups and through the downs and through the ins and through the outs. And
I can really relate too to her kind of like bringing in all of these different pieces. She's got the flower essences and the essential oils, like sort of the physical sort of energy medicine type part of things, and then bringing all these different modalities of sexuality, from tantra to the blueprints to all those pieces that she brings together.
even like kitties being her familials,
I know,
like there's
I know.
like
That's
it all
so cute.
and I remember when her and her mom had bought this house, she had an inheritance after her dad passed away. And it was two different kind of homes that were connected together, and it was so witchy, so perfect for little kitties. Being a cat lady and near the beach, and it was really magical. And I've seen her through some of these different stages, but she's always been such a bright light. I'm glad she's out there in the world doing this work, and I can't wait to maybe the next time we have her on, that beloved will have walked in the door, and
I know
we get to hear another iteration of her continued life story, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's really cool that she's, she did say like a lot of her clients will come to her, but just the fact that she's there energetically on the East Coast doing this work and in a place near Salem, she does definitely have this witchy vibe to her for sure. So, just that kind of like with her cats and her flower essences. Oh yes, she would have definitely been burned at the stake with the rest of us.
I know.
But bringing that consciousness to parts of this country that are still pretty repressed. And
I remember when she was in school, and she had this big paper and all these studies on sacred spot massage, and that was really an interesting time.
Yeah, she wrote a whole dissertation on it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I want to read it.
She's a smart cookie.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So there you have it. Y'all take advantage of her generous offer. I mean, giving a free 45-minute kind of consultation, and wanting to be there for people's stories. And I really loved that, just the messaging of like everybody deserves to get support and help, regardless of your economic situation. And so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love
Best
that.
of luck to Sacha and her awesome work.
Absolutely. And yeah, get on the horn and have a convo with her and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
She's a
All right,
lot to
y'all.
offer.
Love, 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 and a little meow.
Thanks for tuning in. If the hosts seem to know what they were talking about, that's because they do. Leah Piper is a tantric sex master coach and a positive psychology facilitator. Dr. Willow Brown is both a Chinese and functional medicine doctor and a Taoist sexology teacher. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.